These 10 isekai anime never slow down, delivering non-stop adventure, overpowered leads, and gripping worlds that refuse to bore you for even a second. Ever! Kicking off our list at number 10, possibly the greatest alchemist of all time. Takumi Iruma is accidentally summoned to a fantasy world and granted a life he never asked for, where he chooses a peaceful path as an alchemist. Using overpowered crafting skills, he builds tools, potions, and a stable livelihood while navigating guild requests, monsters, and a world that constantly tests his adaptability and resilience growth. This series stands out for its calm but highly efficient pacing, focusing on crafting systems rather than constant battles, which gives it a refreshing identity in the isekai space. The alchemy mechanics feel grounded yet powerful, and the protagonist's steady rise makes every creation feel meaningful and surprisingly satisfying to watch unfold from start to finish naturally. Moving down the rankings to number 9, the new Gate Shin is a veteran player trapped inside a deadly VRMO that suddenly becomes a real world after he defeats the final boss and unlocks freedom for all players. Now transported years into the future, he explores a changed landscape, searching for allies, hidden threats, and the truth behind the game's transformation and lingering consequences. The new Gate differentiates itself with a more strategic and reflective tone, emphasizing world changes after the player's victory rather than constant survival battles. Its progression feels grounded in exploration and mystery, and the protagonist's calm competence keeps the narrative steady even when the stakes quietly escalate in the background without losing its immersive world-building tone. Moving down the rankings to number 8, the unwanted undead adventurer. Rent Feiner is a low-ranked adventurer who dies in a dungeon and is resurrected as a skeleton, forced to survive by evolving through a unique undead progression system. As he adapts, he hunts monsters, gains new abilities, and slowly works toward reclaiming humanity while navigating a dangerous world that fears the undead state change. This anime blends survival fantasy with a rare undead perspective, making progression feel both gritty and emotionally grounded. The evolution system is its biggest hook, constantly pushing the protagonist into new forms and challenges. It balances dungeon crawling with identity struggle, giving the series a darker but surprisingly engaging adventure tone overall that stands out strongly here. Moving down the rankings to number 7, A Journey Through Another World, Raising Kids While Adventuring. Takumi is suddenly transported to another world after a divine accident and is entrusted with raising 2 powerful children while navigating an unfamiliar forested realm. Using survival skills and magical guidance, he builds a safe life, explores nearby towns, and gradually uncovers the hidden significance behind the children's extraordinary origins and evolving responsibility thereafter. This series leans heavily into emotional storytelling and slow burn adventure, focusing on caregiving dynamics rather than constant combat. Its world feels warm yet unpredictable, and the relationship between guardian and children drives most of the tension. It stands apart by blending slice of life with fantasy exploration in a surprisingly heartfelt way that works exceptionally well overall. Moving down the rankings to number 6. I Parry Everything. Yen is a young man who dreams of becoming an adventurer, but is repeatedly told he lacks talent, until he discovers an absurd defensive skill that lets him parry anything. Misunderstood by everyone around him, he survives encounters with monsters, unintentionally becomes overpowered, and steadily rises through sheer accidental mastery without realizing his growth. This series thrives on comedic timing and absurdly overpowered progression hidden behind a completely deadpan protagonist. Every encounter escalates in unexpected ways because his basic parry turns into a universal answer. The humor comes from how others perceive him versus reality, making each battle feel chaotic yet consistently entertaining throughout, which is the entire appeal overall experience. Moving down the rankings to number 5. The great cleric Luciel is a Japanese salaryman who is reincarnated into a fantasy world after death and assigned a healer class, forcing him to train intensely in a dangerous adventurer society. Despite being support-focused, he pushes through brutal dungeons, builds endurance, and develops unconventional survival methods to become far more than expected through sheer persistence alone. This anime redefines the healer role by turning it into a grueling progression system where survival depends on discipline rather than raw power. The training sequences are intense, and the protagonist's growth feels earned through constant struggle. It delivers a satisfying mix of dungeon exploration, character development, and steady power escalation that keeps viewers fully engaged constantly. Moving down the rankings to number 4, Dahlia in Bloom, crafting a fresh start with magical tools. Dahlia is a young woman reincarnated into a world of magic and craftsmanship who decides to rebuild her life after a broken engagement by mastering magical tool creation. She opens a workshop, innovates enchanted devices, and forms connections while navigating societal expectations and discovering her own independence and creative purpose with steady growth arc. This anime focuses on personal reinvention and craftsmanship rather than combat-driven spectacle, offering a refreshing change of pace within the Isekai genre. Its attention to detail in magical engineering makes every invention feel meaningful. The story's emotional undertone and steady pacing create a relaxing yet engaging viewing experience from start to finish that feels calm and satisfying. Breaking into our top 3 at number 3, The Beginning. After the end. King Grey, a powerful monarch from a previous life, is reborn as Arthur Leywin in a magical world filled with kingdoms, mana cultivation, and political conflict. Retaining his past memories, he trains rigorously, forms alliances, and navigates a dangerous society while seeking purpose beyond his former life of control and authority, reborn anew stronger. This adaptation stands out for its strong emotional backbone and strategic world-building, blending reincarnation themes with character-driven growth. The protagonist's dual awareness of past and present creates layered decision-making, and the narrative balances action, politics, and personal stakes with impressive depth, making every arc feel meaningful and tightly structured that elevates the entire experience, significantly improves. Moving down the rankings to number 2. Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf. Kazuhiro Kitase discovers he can travel between modern Japan and a fantasy world through sleep, where he meets an elf companion who follows him back to his real life. Their dual-world existence blends everyday Japanese routines with magical adventures, creating a unique contrast between ordinary life and fantasy exploration together. An emotional grounding develops. This series excels in balancing slice-of-life storytelling with fantasy escapism, creating a refreshing dual setting that shifts between calm domestic moments and magical conflict. The relationship between the protagonists adds emotional weight, while the world-hopping concept keeps the narrative engaging, unpredictable, and consistently entertaining throughout each episode, making it highly rewatchable and fun overall. And finally, reigning supreme at number 1, the Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. Togo Asagaki, a veteran Red Ranger from a Sentai team, is transported into a fantasy world where he continues fighting evil using transformation abilities and teamwork instincts. He adapts his hero mindset to dungeon environments, forming bonds with new allies while confronting monsters, corrupt forces, and challenges that test his leadership under constant pressure. This anime is pure adrenaline, merging Sentai combat logic with Isekai world building in a way that feels explosive and tightly choreographed. The protagonist's disciplined hero mentality creates structured battles even in chaotic environments, and the series maintains relentless momentum, making every confrontation feel like a climactic showdown from start to finish, without losing intensity overall. This lineup proves Isekai can stay sharp, fast, and endlessly engaging when storytelling avoids filler and focuses on momentum, character drive, and evolving worlds. Each title brings something distinct, from crafting to combat. Share which series stood out most or deserves a deeper breakdown next video.